The meltdown is temporary. The solidification of self is solid. The meltdown is temporary. The solidification of self is solid. What do you think when you hear that quote? That was a quote that I recently posted on my Facebook platform, and I got a lot of messages regarding that quote because of the text that followed that quote. People thought I was giving up on life, that I was throwing in the towel, that I just thought the world was chaotic and I couldn't take it. And I'm thinking, well, I don't know how one person can read it and get something different, and then the writer that wrote it had something completely different in mind. So I just want to take a moment to explain what the quote meant. But first, I want to read to you all the text that followed this very, very true and beautiful quote. Last night, I understood that old saying, throwing in the towel. When I look at the world, there's much chaos, pain, and doubt. But when I change angles, there's much love, hope, and faith. What I've come to understand about that is this: life exists the way we see it. Situations unravel the way we allow them to. So instead of throwing in the towel, try looking at life from a different perspective, from a different angle, and see what happens. That's the text that followed that beautiful yet very real quote. The meltdown is temporary because it is. The solidification of self is solid because it is. When we are solid, we are sure in who we are. We're whole. We're reliable, and it is continuous, meaning that we're not solid one day and then we're melting down the next. That's what solidification of self means. When we're solid in ourselves and who we are unshakable in our stance. Completely unshakable. I don't care what someone says. I don't care what they make you feel like. I don't care what they're telling others. When we are solid in self and who we are, whom we've been created to be, it's unshakable, unwavering. I'm not saying that we're not teachable. I got to make that clear, because a lot of people will say, well, if you're set in your ways, you're unteachable. That's not what I'm saying. So I'm not saying that we're not teachable. I'm saying that we hold a sense of surety in who we are, which is not easily swayed. When we're solid, when our self has been solidified, we're not easily swayed. When we're solid spiritually, turning away from faith is unquestionable. It's just not an option. I'm going to push it as far as to say it's not even something that we think about. Turning away from faith when you're solid in who you are is unquestionable. It's not an option simply because we know that it's faith that gives us the strength to handle this world. For people without faith, I've seen those people. I know that you've seen those people. For people without faith, life is harder, because life is hard. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not. Life is not an easy cakewalk. We may want it to be, but it's not. It's a fortification process. It solidifies us. But faith, having that faith, helps us handle the world a bit better, or far better, than those people that do not have faith. That's what happens when we're solid. When we're solid mentally, the meltdowns that we once had, we don't have anymore. They're just not an option. Why melt down when your faith tells you that it's going to be okay? Things may look one way, but if you grab a hold to that faith, they're going to turn around. It's going to be okay. So the meltdowns, the mental meltdowns that we once had, we don't have anymore. We understand that the meltdown is temporal. It's temporary. It's not a permanent thing. And that the life we want, we create. That's right. The life we want, we create. Life itself is a combination of choices, decisions. A lot of people, and I've been there, done this, a lot of people feel like they're stuck. They're stuck in situations, they're stuck in jobs, they're stuck in decisions and choices when we're really not. That's a mental block. It's all in the mind. Just like we make a choice to get up and walk outside, we can make a choice to create the life that we want. It is not hard. It's just having the faith and the courage to step outside of the box. But that's what happens when you're solid. The solidification of self is solid. That's what happens. You step outside of the box, the four walls, and you move. You know, whether it be over here, over there, you move in the direction that you've been sent to go in. That's what happens when you're solid. When we're solid, we are strong spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. When we're solid. Because the three of those matter when it comes to being solid and whole and really doing the things that we're meant to do, accomplishing the goals that we're meant to accomplish. It takes being solid and whole. So when we're solid, we're strong spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that solid people or those that have went through that solidification process. I'm not saying that we don't have hard times or we don't have sad moments, because we do. That's what being normal, not normal, but that's what being human is, excuse me, tongue twister there. That's what being human means. If we're human beings, we're going to be sad at some point in our lives. We're going to go through processes that are quite difficult. But when we're solid, you know that it's not the end all. Because for one, like I said prior, our faith helps us understand that whatever it is that we're going through, the fire that we're walking through, whatever it may be, the mountains in front of us, whatever it may be, when we're solid, we can push through those things. The solidification of self is solid. It's permanent. It's permanent. So when we've gone through, or when we're solid, we also understand that life is a gift, this life, because we're not guaranteed to wake up the next morning. We're not guaranteed to make it to our beds tonight. So we understand that life itself is a gift, and it's given to us to do, be, and accomplish greatness, to accomplish those things that have been placed within us. I know I say that a lot, but it is also true. Also true. Life is a gift. It's not promised to us the next minute, the next moment, the next second. It's a gift. And when we're solid, we understand that. When we've gone through, I know at least for me, I'm speaking from personal experience. When a solid person goes through the solidification process, they're solid now, but before they were a little bit mushy. That's the only word I could think of at the moment. When we go through the solidification process, at least for myself, that means that our spirit, soul, and mind align themselves. All three. They're not intertwined. They're aligned, not intertwined. They're not battling and fighting against one another. They are perfectly aligned. So our spirit, our soul, and our mind align themselves. And we understand that having complete faith in God, the only creator, is the only way. We understand who we are, and we understand what we've been created to do. When we're solid, when we go through that solidification process, That meltdown we once had over here is now solid. We're solid over there. And I'm not going to sit here and say that it's easy. It's not. The solidification process is very, very difficult because, for one, we're dealing with hurts, past pains. We're dealing with people that have just tried their best to break us into I don't know how many pieces. And then those people sit back, they won't apologize, they vandalize your name. So all of these things, all of these hurts, we've lost loved ones, life itself, when we look, going back to that throwing in the towel that I said prior, when we look at the world in its entirety, the world globally, there's much chaos, pain, and doubt. So I'm not going to say that the solidification process is an easy process. It is not. It is very difficult. But if you grasp a hold of the faith that's required, it will be much easier. Much, much, much easier. Now, for me, this has been my experience, and I'm sure for a whole host of other people that feel that they are in that solid state. Their stance is solid. Their belief is solid. Their mindsets are solid. And yet they're still teachable, but they're solid. I can say that there will be naysayers. There will be. It's a guarantee. And I'm not speaking in a negative sense or just speaking negatively. I'm speaking real truth. There will be naysayers, spectators, and sadly, very, very sadly, people praying for your demise. I can be real honest with you. I get a lot of video views. The likes don't add up to the amount of views that I've gotten on my videos, because there's a lot of spectators that are watching, and some of them, sadly, may be praying for your demise. That's something you have to keep in mind. So those are things that you will face. But there will also be prayer warriors, praise God, prayer warriors praying for your success. So on one end of the totem pole, we have those praying against you, and on the other, we have those praying for you. And I'm going to tell you this, those praying for you will outdo those praying against you. So, and I feel like this, because when you're solid, you understand this, and this is a key piece to understand. As long as you have unshakable faith and unshakable stance in who you are, and you know what you're meant to do, naysayers, spectators are irrelevant. I'm going to say that again. As long as you have unshakable faith, an unshakable mindset, and understand who you are and what you are meant to do, naysayers and spectators are irrelevant. And for me, I say pray for them and carry on. That's the best thing we can do. Pray for them and carry on. So my prayer, I just hope that you understood the solidification process, why it is so important, especially in the times that we are living in. We can all look outside of our front doors, even those that are in, different countries, everywhere. We can all look outside of our front doors and see the chaos, the calamity, the sadness, the depression, the mental illness going on around us. So the world is not getting easier. It's getting quite difficult. And that those difficulties are going to require us to be whole, to be solid, not only in our spirit and our souls, but in our minds. Because if we have a solid mind, we're not easily swayed. We don't give up on life. We don't throw in the towel. We look at life from a different perspective, from a different angle, different angles. Because life isn't just a one-way street. There's many streets that we will travel, many roads that we will travel. So I just want to encourage you to look at life from a different perspective, a different stance, and make the necessary changes. One change that you need to make right now is to go through the solidification process. And I will speak more on this very, very soon. So thank you all so much for joining me. If you like what you've heard, and if you like me, I hope that you do, because I love you. Please like, subscribe, share, comment. It really means a lot to me. So you all, thank you so much for joining me. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Bye.